That's unheard of. In the 40s, if you reported against the mainstream narrative,
all the devil hand signs, get them all out there.
They killed you.
Do them
the
all.
Government. Execution. It was considered treason. The good news is these wizards that build their castles on sand.
We're doing it. We're doing it live, folks.
You know, Don Pettit is the result of 50 years of nonsense. There is no master plan with these people. They suck. Thanks again from the bottom of my heart. Keep breaking the spells. Tell Amy and the alpaca wool spinner is all the rage. I'm completely serious. You guys are crushing it. And those of us
crushing it. Logos.
On the homestead,
hardcore crushing.
Chickens, like it ain't no thing. This is the real life, nigga, and the real living. God bless you and your family.
Very cringe.
I added the nigga part. All right, last one for today. Nick Fuentes is the Latino campus conservative. Did you guys know that?
Getting everybody in here.
Nick Fuentes is a Latino campus conservative. Oh, you want to know what works awesome is CBD oil. I took some for a headache yesterday. It was amazing. CBD oil. So, I have zero interest in marijuana for getting high. But if anybody knows any more information, because I know a lot of you guys know about this shit because I like cancer and stuff. Let me know how I can get like really good CBD oil, because we're also, as a family, getting rid of all Advil and Tylenol and everything out of our house. It has to be...
Hey, what up, 3%er?
It has to be from...
You at Chick-fil-A? I was there yesterday, dude.
The future. So,
I spilled my root beer in the garage.
CBD is nice, yeah, CBD. Yeah, CBD is about me, yeah. Let me know how I can grow it, where I should get it. Send me some. If I trust you, I'll take it.
If I trust you, I'll take it.
Oil store. Sweet! I'll promote it for you. My mom sells CBD. Awesome.
Everybody's mom sells CBD.
For any cannabis type thing, because they're making it illegal. Obviously, the entire push against marijuana was because of the pharmaceutical industry and paper and war, and it's all nonsense. So, before it gets grabbled by genetically modified, you know, Joe Rogan blood pump, getting high bullshit, let me know how to have a more natural medicine cabinet. Please stay open-minded to cannabis. I don't hate it, dude. Unless if it's the new genetically modified weed that you smoke, I'll judge you for it. But if people smoke like natural weed to like help their anxiety, I don't like it personally. But like, it's, you know, there you go. I drink coffee. But the shit they're making now is really bad for you. Don't smoke that shit.
Nonsense.
Little
Nonsense. Drink alcohol, Goyam.
Little kids, little babies. Let's read the first paragraph. Dear Big Bear, Homemade Bear here. Thank you for everything you do, and your daily streams are uplifting and are the perfect reminder that we are responsible for rejecting the lies that enslave us. Over the past year and a half, your videos have been a tremendous help in dealing with childhood traumas.
Peak boomer
I haven't
letters.
been able to process, as well as the death of my mother last January. After a month or so ago, the stream was talking about the appearance of "be not afraid" in the Bible and how it occurred 365 times, one for every day of the year. This struck a personal chord with me, as I was constantly in a state of fear, panic, anxiety, and depression. As a strong command from God, a reminder that He is always with us. When the fear starts creeping in, I'm calmed by it. Lately, I've found a peace like I haven't known before. Your anti-Semitic moonlighting conspiracy songs have helped tremendously to show the God family homesteading blueprint that gives people true purpose. I'm an unauthorized TV subscriber, but I want to send something to show my appreciation for all you do. So I sent the booties for the newest member of your growing family. Amy ain't pregnant yet, though, but we're about to start really going at it again to make sure we can make a baby. But if not, guess what? It's just another month of fucking. That's how I see it. Because it can bum you out when you go a couple months thinking that, you know, it's a couple days away on the period, and you're like, yeah, and then nothing, and you got a pregnant goat and shit, and Amy's obsessed with the pregnant goats and alpacas. But, you know, it is what it is. God has a plan.
Those nuts aren't working anymore, Benji.
I don't know, so just another month of fucking. songs, idiots in Texas buying 0% teas. Alright. I've been sending, I don't want to be a part of the weed community, by the way, though. So just because I'm talking about CBD oil does not mean everyone starts being like, no way, man. It's just, I don't want Tylenol or Advil in the house. Alright. I've been seeing Amy knitting before in the Shylock Holmes clip, so I sent the pattern along as well. I know it didn't happen this month. Oh, cool. But if anyone deserves to be blessed with more children, it's the two of you. On your recent streams, we've been talking about celebrating conception, and I saw someone suggest Genesis Day. I think this name fits well. That's great. It's the day of your conception, called Genesis Day. I would send a super chat, but I don't have monetary wealth. It's no problem at all. Like,
Okay,
always
Boomer.
amass a wealth of knowledge and skills that I plan on passing down to my future children. Oh, you mean actual wealth? My plan is to finish college with a bachelor's in botany to help me start a self-sustaining farm with my family, where I would homeschool. Currently, I have an associate's in biology, and I'm about to apply to UF for another 2 years of school. I feel as though college is practically pointless. It is pointless. I actually suggest you don't do that. So I've been considering not applying and just starting the farm. Yes, exactly what you should do. Especially, again, all these people that focus only on censorship.
You're gonna go to college to learn how to farm, you fucking
information in the
moron.
world you could possibly require for starting a
Stupid.
farm. Look at what we've done in a year. I had 0 skills. I went to school for World War II history.
And you learned that
Also,
off.
ships are birds.
You don't even know anything about World War II.
No, it's when you conceive. That's the thing. My only hang-up is a question: how do you know you won't regret leaving college? Sowing doubt. Dude, it's like saying, my only, I have my dick wedged in this light socket. And it sucks, but like, what if I regret taking it out? Do you have any advice as to how to know it's right? Yes, it's wrong. You should not go to college. You have no money. You want to start a farm. Why the fuck would you go to college for that? That's retarded.
Yes, I agree with that on
I'm
the going.
miserable regurgitating the propaganda, so I can't think of any reason I would regret it other than the feminist lies I was raised on. Anyway, thank you again. Keep on crushing. Wait a minute, you're also a woman? Oh yeah, I should have realized that. You crochet all this shit. Do not go to college. Find yourself a man that you love and that respects you, a God-fearing man that has, some income coming in,
Kids are
wants
doomed.
to have children, and there you go. You should not be in this world on your own as a woman or a man. But it's like, you sound like you would do great with a man that has an income that wants to be a father. It's not on you to run a farm yourself. Fuck that. It's just like, that sounds awful. Get a man. Get a man that can provide. Women's analogies are too much. Well, Omega Bear just said that with a smiling face, so don't think that was a dig. Alright, buy land that already has a well or water source. Yeah, all land theoretically has a water source if you go deep enough, but I get what you're saying. Kind Bear, can one of you unban me from your main channel? No. If you ask again, you'll be banned from this one as well. The last thing this is about is you and your banning stance. Someone was probably running their mouth, weren't they? Oh, and how are the cats? I'm not a cat guy, but I like that they're around. It feels like I just have snipers around me all the time. I don't see them. Amy likes the cats. I'm cool with the cats. I don't hate cats. I just, great advice, BB, I got income. Yeah, there's a lot of dudes out there that have income that would love to have a woman that sounds exactly like what that woman just sounded like. So, it's almost like, it's like, you got bullets, I got a gun. It's like, yeah, but I really just want to get in thousands of dollars of debt so I can get my own gun. It's like, why? I will protect you and honor you and give you children and the gun. It's like, yeah, but how do I know I won't regret taking out this Jew loan and just be alone, doing it by myself in misery? Oh, Amazing Polly's here. Awesome. Hi there. Cats get the job done. Yeah, the whole point, like, we have farm cats. It's not like indoor cats. They're barn cats. The cats have a job, and the job is to kill vermin. And no, I will not be apologizing for that and on Washington Post and saying that I'm not actually anti-Semitic because I don't like vermin. Preach it, Owen, I regret college. Yeah, everybody does. Like, literally everybody. Bear's dating site? Well, the real life used to just have dating. How about we stop suckling on the tit of dating sites? How about you just talk to each other? How about you just fucking... There's bears that have met other bears in this chat and are now married with children. You don't need a fucking site to have an algorithm figured out for you and then everyone praise the algorithm. Oh, the algorithm! The algorithm will decide what we do! Everyone feed the algorithm! We don't know the mysterious way of the algorithm. Don't question the algorithm. Nicholas Fuentes is the future of masculinity. College is a fraud from what I gather. Beyond. Beyond. Why did Egyptians worship cats? Most of them were homosexual. Oh, I'm at a coffee suite. Good timing. Alright, any final questions before I go? So, the thesis statement of today's episode is Nick Fuentes just humiliated himself. If you're a member of Nicker Nation, I suggest you back away slowly. And if you insulted me during this process at all, I require a handwritten letter. And I want you to cry when you write it. And then give me CBD oil or money or silver. Or gold. I mean, Denmark Bear sends a couple nuggets of gold, but I understand that's a little pricey. But, precious metals. Because you'll feel better. You know, it's like, if you mocked me and called me envious and that my wife's crying alone and I'm Nick Fuentes and I'm just jealous. If you did that, you owe me. Or you can just go to another saloon. You don't have to do this, but you owe me if you're going to be here. And I'll never know, but I will know if you try and pull this shit. Nicho's going to get crushed tonight. He's done. And he won't be done. He'll still have thousands of viewers. He'll still get the super chats. But he's done. Like, the authentic people that were propping him up and following him, and that's all over. What happens when you cull the herd? What gatekeepers do is they bring a new group of goats into a little pen. Right? So that all the ones that'll stick around and be like, he's just playing 8D chess, they descend. And they'll still be there. He'll still be doing this in his time, playing these games. And if you weren't part of this experience, you'll see, that there'll be people being like, Nicholas Fuentes is the future. But it's not really, though. It's over. It's just like Ben Shapiro. If you actually looked at his analytics now, it's awful. Like, he's not a leader of men. We broke him. Jordan Peterson is ranting alone in a little padded room. Wizard Slayer, Big Bear. I am a Wizard Slayer. That's why I'm writing the book, How to Slay a Wizard. No more base niggers. Right. The good ones leave. Okay, the reason that my guys are so great, I got complimented in Dallas recently at that conference by a woman who said, give me one of your men. Like, basically, like, I'm a man breeder. Like, that my men are trained properly. It's like, I want a top-tier man. Can you give me one of your bears? Because people come here and they see smart, respectful, interesting, funny, productive. Like, there's a reason. Because I'm not a cuck, I'm not a liar, I haven't betrayed my people. You will see Nicholas Fuentes, he will still get people following him, he'll still get people sending him money, but it'll be shit people. Look at Joe Rogan fans now, they're shit. Look at Joe Rogan, or Steven Crowder fans, they're all baby boomers being like, how dare people say we didn't go to the moon? It's hell. It's hell. They'll still stick around. Nicholas Fuentes is not packing up and going away. He just started getting paid, nigga. The whole reason they do this is money every fucking time. So not only is he not going away, you'll be seeing more and more of this little...
Speaking from experience. Uh-oh. Connection issues.
What a boomer. And he ends it.
You're an old-timey bear trader. I am. Maybe a matchmaker too. Babies have been. I'm single and ready to mingle. Gun slinger looking for a holster. There you go. Maybe on your side have a 24/7 chat for bears to talk. Nah. We've tried that in the past, and they get corrupted by grabblers.
Yeah, right.
Maybe did Vincent James sell out after having that chat? No, Vincent James.
You just don't want to spend money.
Like, I don't turn on people, and I don't associate myself with shit. Like Vincent James, the reason I've never criticized Vincent James, even though like he'll promote Nichols and all this shit. No, Vincent James has never sold out, and I don't think it's in him to sell out. You can smell a rat. Yeah, I'm getting gravel. Let's check back in.
You're a moron.
Are you guys still here? I know I got gravel. I'm talking about Vincent James. You can smell rats. You can smell rats, right? Vincent James is not a rat. If I when I see like Nicholas Fuentes on Vincent James, at no point am I thinking, oh, Vincent sold out. He clearly won't sell out. He has an authentic point of view. He stands, he delivers, he has a family. Men with kids, it's a different breed. 2021 Owen will be most common baby name. Yeah, like Vincent, it's not even like he's on the verge of selling out. There's certain people that it's not in their nature. I think that's one of the reasons me and Vox trust each other is because we both know it's not in our nature. It isn't possible for guys like us to sell out because there isn't anywhere to go for us in that situation. Like, what do? You know, like Dave Smith, he's a libertarian. I fundamentally think libertarianism is a flawed logic. Dave Smith doesn't sell out. Dave Smith wrote me 2 days ago after watching that video about why I hate Ben Shapiro, about how it was like one of the most succinct, like obvious and like powerful videos to show someone as to why neocons and war is bad. Like Dave Smith is a perfect example of someone that just is incapable of selling out. And so I understand why people say, like, I may disagree with you, but I respect. I don't say that because it's typically said by cowards, but I understand what that means. Where it's like, I can disagree with things that Vincent says, or Dave says, or Fox says, but it's like, when you know that there are men that are not here to get a buyer, it's a much different feeling. And I can't really explain it. You just don't. And when people say, well, how about Joe Rogan and Jordan Peterson? I've had one conversation with Jordan Peterson in my entire life. I've had 3.5 conversations with Joe Rogan in my entire life. These were not my friends. I didn't have a time to discern, and I was going through a lot of trauma.
Still blew him when you knew him.
Anyone who hasn't read any Vox books, read one so good. Oh, dude, he's such a good writer. Can't help it myself because it
Vox
really
is
works.
so cringe.
Tucker Carlson. Yeah, Tucker Carlson doesn't cuck. You can't cuck.
Yes, he does.
There's certain
He
people
cucks on
that
9/11.
men can see, like men can see in other men, who is a member of the hierarchy, or in Vox's case, a Sigma, but he's telling you he's a Sigma, and who isn't. Like who's a liar, who's a snake, who's a lambda. Like Steven Crowder, at first he can sell his shit for a while, but eventually you realize he's a sodomite. Dave praised you for that video. Yeah, he's great. And it's like, that's why you can disagree with people on certain political points and be close friends and respect each other. You know, I talk to Dave all the time about family and having kids and where to live. But it's like, a liar has no place. And I will grind them. Grind. Because it's like, they fuck with people's heads. And I've been fucked with by liars. Refuse all Nichols, you don't fear any liar. Right. Like, that's where a big part of my fearlessness comes from. Is because when you refuse Nichols, when you live a righteous life, it's like, you just have so
many
less
pictures
fear
of this guy being
because you
gay
know
online.
who your enemies are. You know where your food comes from, or like who you can trust. And if someone betrays you, that's on them. You know, if you're in this tangled web of lies and alliances and optics and 4D chess and shit, it's like you get lost in that web. No one on this planet is smart enough to navigate lies. You have to be able to remember all the time what you've said in the past, what is true. You know, think about how much I talk. Imagine if I was actually a liar, like some of these people have called me. I talk for 2.5 hours every fucking day with no script, responding to people in a chat, like about whatever I'm interested in that day. Think about how fucked I would be if I lied.
Talking into an echo chamber all day.
It's just like, it's all the evidence in the world is here every day. And not only am I not hiding things, I'm desperately, litigiously, and effectively keeping my content up for as many people to watch as possible. Because if you go back and hear me say something that I no longer believe in, I want you to see the process. I want people to see how I came to these conclusions. I don't want to edit out or narrate or, you know, editorialize my life. I want people to be able to see for themselves all the time how I get here. And a liar can't do that. A liar's fucked immediately. And liars always forget how many people will hate them when they realize that they're liars. Like, no one likes Nick Fuentes because they just like Nick Fuentes. They like him because he was saying certain things that others wouldn't say. He now went back on all of it.
Kind of like white people like you, Owen, you
so
retard.
So the people that stand with him, I believe, are just homos. Like people that just want to be inside of him.
Dude, this guy is so
closeted.
closeted.
Girl, I wonder what would happen to a homo that tries to bang Nicholas Fuentes and then they realize he's a female to male trans. Like, do they get...
Yeah, I bet you think about that stuff a lot, Owen. Queer.
No, Vincent James is not a rat. Like, he's more focused on politics than I would ever be. But he's focused at... I mean, he's telling you that what he believes to be the truth. And that's what gives a man value. That's what gives a man value. That's why I don't play these games anymore. It's like, oh, but he's a Muslim, so that means he's evil. It's like, dude, I know Muslims that live more righteous Christian lives than most Christians I know. Because when you accurately follow the Quran and you believe it, your life resembles Jesus Christ more than these Zionist cucks in their megachurches. And that's just true. I know Muslims that live and believe and act and pray more Christian than these Zionist Christians. And so who am I to say they're wrong and evil? It just isn't. That's ridiculous. Oh, how dare you? Oh, I know the how dare you people.
Is that what he's saying about dead
Palestinians? Everyone can
Palestinians?
see how I did take the arrows to give you guys some truth about Fuentes, and then in a month people just say, oh, you're not a real Christian unless you condemn the Muzzy. Like, meanwhile they're like fucking their neighbor. It's just like, shut up.
What?
There's believers and liars. There's truth tellers and liars. It's like how I can respect Vincent and E. Michael Jones and Roosh, who are members of churches that I think have, you know, I think the Vatican is pretty much material evil. But like, they're believers. They're truth tellers. That's why I respect them. And so, that's the difference. Vincent James is consistent. Yes! Truth never moves, right? There's no movement to truth. You're just trying to expose. Why know what truth is like? It's like making a sculpture. You're just chipping away at shit. If you see movement, it's simply just trying to expose what was already there. You know, an artist, a truth teller, a true artist will look at a block of marble and see a beautiful form. You just have to show it. You have to get rid of all this shit that just makes it a block and expose it for what it always was. Alright. Jesus named 25 times in the Quran, Muhammad only 4. Yeah, no, I mean, Muslims have gotten such a shit end of the stick because of the American and Israeli media, or Mossad and CIA media, that it's, I genuinely apologized to some Muslims in my life.
Good.
You know, and that's why I forgive myself.
Good, you retard.
It's like, yeah, a lot of people just thought they were pure evil. We were told that over and over again through traumatic lies and hoaxed events. And some Muslims are evil. But it's like, you know, devout Muslims are not your fucking enemy. It's just not true. Maybe you're a Grand Dean show. Yeah, I like Dean a lot. I like that. And his name's not Dean. Dean means, I think Dean means good. I don't know how that all works. I always thought his name was Dean, but I don't think his name's good. But he's a great guy. There aren't truth movements, there are bowel movements. Right, there's truth, there's revelation, not revolution. Revolution is satanic. Revelation is godly.
Shut up.
I'm sorry to hear that Rocky Mount married with that. We lost 2 of our babies. What are you guys talking about? Oh, miscarriages? Yeah, miscarriages. My mom had 5 before I was born. 5. That's why she had me almost 40 years old. She had 5.
That's why you're so retarded.
I just held on. Oh, his name's Eddie? Yeah, Eddie's great. Eddie's a great guy. We talk about truth. And that's why I don't get put in these pens where it's like, yeah, I'm a Christian. I'm a believer. I'm a follower of Jesus Christ. And it's like, I like people that tell the truth. That's what I am. But it's like if someone's a Muslim and honest and truth-telling and respects life and God's creation stuff, like, they're not your fucking enemy. Same with Jews. It's like if there's a Jew that's trying to find the truth, and I've met them. I know they're there. I don't have hatred for the Jews. It's like, I have hatred for the grabblers. But whatever.
So dumb.
It's all in the older
That's
younger
blatant wizardry.
This does not come up when you research on Benjamin Filter. That's fine. We got our membership back. Right? Look at the positives. Hit those Rogan's bears. That's the number 6. Yeah, hit the Rogan's up. All right, guys. You can get these Logos Gravy Goat Milk mugs at unbearablesmerchandise.com. Unauthorized.tv. Become a subscriber. I have a new hour special there called You're Doing Great, Kid for subscribers. Become a member here and make sure you email me whydidn'ttheylaugh@gmail.com if you were ever my Patreon subscriber or if you're now my member subscriber, and if it comes down to it, you would like to take part in some fun legal battles if they ever deplatform me from here.
Fun, by the way.
Oh, and wasn't your father homosexual? He is. Yeah, he closeted himself for a very long time. And,
disgusting.
You know, he hid in plain sight. He would be like, instead of hors d'oeuvre, he'd say horsey over and laughs at himself for 10 minutes. You know, he's like fruity. And I just didn't see it because he was my dad. But
what
yeah,
the
he
fuck?
had a weird hidden life. And that has motivated me and helped me understand how to spout wizards and lies.
Huge homo.
Obviously, there's a connection, guys. I've been through a lot with that, you know? And forgiveness is not my it's not my instinct to forgive is extremely high to the point where I was manipulated for a very long time. So when you say, I have to forgive, Jesus says, turn the other more intelligent young man who was completely lacking in character. When you find he's a smart, intelligent young man, you're banned for life. Unless, no, you're just banned. He's not even smart.
You're banned for life. You're a retard.
You're completely lacking in character. He sounds like you're really rooting for him. This ain't your saloon. Now get!
Sensitive little fag. Owen is so cringe. What a boomer retard. Hey, that's me.
Does WeWork's implosion pose a systemic risk? The company went from a $47 billion valuation to near bankruptcy in just 6 weeks. It's been kind of a phenomenal story to watch.
WeWork is facing a cash crunch.
WeWork.
Burn rate of $700 million a quarter. It's probably going to run out of money by the first half of next year.
How and what is this company going to do if it doesn't hit the public market and raise that money? Hi, welcome to another Cold Fusion video. The idea of a modern day tech company is shrouded in glamour, casual dress, cutting edge tech, and a collaborative atmosphere which frees workers from mundane, pigeonholed work. This dream is exactly what WeWork sells to people. WeWork rents out co-working offices to freelancers, small business owners, and even some tech giants. The company was an exciting, fast-growing startup on course to issue an IPO in September 2019. Valued at $47 billion, things were going great for WeWork until people started looking into the company and, more importantly, their founder and CEO, Adam Newman. From a failed IPO to a disgraced CEO, let's take a look at the story of WeWork. A premature pseudo-tech giant which could be falling apart right in front of our eyes.
You are watching Cold Fusion TV.
Co-working has been around since the 90s and had been growing in popularity since 2005. Riding on this wave, WeWork was founded in 2010. Though what made the company popular right from the start was their ability to tap into the market and sell an idea. Open spaces, collaborative areas, it was hip and fresh. It didn't look or feel like a traditional office. They focused on community, drawing from their founders' experiences of growing up in communal living spaces. They framed themselves as a tech company, employing data analytics tools and other smart tech to
Kibbutz.
improve the
Talking
efficiency
about
of their
kibbutz.
spaces. This led to an understanding of exactly how people use their spaces, where to build next, and how the spaces should look. WeWork found themselves a target market and grew quickly. The company received some big backing from investors such as Goldman Sachs, JP Morgan, and SoftBank. Even Amazon invested in WeWork this year.
A lot of Jews.
In total, WeWork secured $14.2 billion in funding since 2009. Though low interest rates made it easy for investment firms to pump cash into growing companies. One of these cash pumpers was Masayoshi Son, the CEO of SoftBank. He manages a $100 billion vision fund. We've covered Son and his SoftBank company in a previous video. His rags to riches story is really amazing in itself, and I'll leave a link for that below. Son had made perhaps one of the greatest investments of all time just a few decades earlier when he gave a young Jack Ma $20 million to fund Alibaba. In 2017, Son famously met with Adam for just 12 minutes before deciding to invest $4.4 billion. Son had found a new apprentice in Adam Newman, and in Son, Newman had found a mentor. But Son's belief in Newman, while it gave way to his rise, may also have been part of the reason for his eventual downfall.
What a moron.
Over the coming decades, WeWork used money
Should've gave $200 million to Alibaba.
847 locations across 123 cities globally. In fact, WeWork is central London's biggest office occupier, and also the biggest private office tenant in Manhattan. But Adam Newman had bigger dreams for the company than just renting office spaces. Rebranding as the We Company, along with WeWork, is also WeLive, essentially renting furnished apartments. And more interestingly, WeGrow, which in its own words is a, quote, conscientious entrepreneurial school for young children with tuition fees between $22,000 and $42,000.
Nice.
The school is again, in its own words, quote, committed to elevating the collaborative consciousness of the world, end quote. WeGrow is run by Rebecca Newman, wife of Adam Newman, and cousin of Gwyneth Paltrow. The so-called founding parents testify about the school's intangible strengths.
I see many schools that are very established, but the big issue with those schools is that they're behind.
WeGrow is teaching the children how to adapt to the rapidly changing world around us that we're all seeing.
But all of this apparent success had an air of doubt around it.
High-key small hat.
WeWork had secured funding. They grew into a giant, but they hadn't made a profit yet. Nevertheless, after Uber went public in May, WeWork became the most valuable venture-backed company in the United States. Now, it's not uncommon for a tech company to take a while to return a profit. But WeWork, although it likes to think of itself as a tech company, really isn't. WeWork is effectively a landlord. They don't sell technology hardware or software. They simply rent office space. They use technology to make more effective business decisions, but these days most companies do. And therein lies the main problem with WeWork. How is a landlord company supposed to make explosive returns and growth like that of a tech company? Beneath the facade of a successful tech company lay the true story. A story of a company who hadn't yet turned a profit but was being hailed as a titan of industry, and a founder who got drunk on the allure of being a pioneer.
If you have a business that's mission driven, you will attract the best people. If you attract the best people, remember this. You have to treat
Very
them the way
Jewish.
you want to be treated. You have to take care of them.
Very Israeli.
I know today, and I did not understand this in the past, that the most important thing in our business and in every business are the employees and the people making it work every single day.
One reason that investors began to look critically at WeWork was that there was an obvious and inherent risk with the company's business model. WeWork engages in an average lease of 15 years with a landowner. This means that WeWork pays a fixed amount each year for the land lease. The company then charges people to use the space. If occupancy is high or property prices increase, then WeWork makes money off the space. However, if occupancy dips too low or property prices fall, WeWork can't charge as much, yet they still have to pay the agreed lease. Hence the company would be bleeding money. To counter this, WeWork has a company structure of subsidiaries which hold specific leases in different areas. That way, if one subsidiary has to fail, it doesn't propagate to the rest of the business. But many people still believe that WeWork wouldn't be able to sustain themselves in the midst of another financial crisis or similar crisis where few people are willing to rent their working spaces. And besides all of this, massive cracks have appeared in the company. The cracks became apparent to investors as WeWork was prepping for an IPO for September 2019. The problems all started in January with SoftBank, a major investor in WeWork. They backpedaled on a proposed $16 billion stake in the company, reducing that figure to just $2 billion. This was blamed on a dip in SoftBank's share price, but some people were concerned that SoftBank was rethinking WeWork altogether. So as WeWork began its IPO filings, investors were keen to see what all the fuss was about. During the process for filing for an IPO, a company is required to disclose a lot of information to potential investors. This means financials, business models, disclosures, among other things. The company goes quite literally from private to public. And this was where the suspicion of the $47 billion valuation arose. Internal documents from WeWork's IPO filings revealed that it was losing more than $5,000 per new customer. This was a terrible look for the
Based.
company. As more details
Very
came
red
out,
pilled.
the company's value had dropped by nearly 80% just this year alone. Many blame the financial situation, but also there's many doubts about the company's founder and CEO, Adam Newman. To give you an idea of Adam's character, he trademarked the word "we", then had the company pay him $5.9 million in licensing fees. The Sydney
Based.
Morning Herald has also called him the newest, most hated man in America.
Very Jewish.
You're in a business where you're going out and you're securing long-term leases where you have a long-term expenditure, and you have very short-term revenue obligations, $650 a month. And the criticism goes something like, wait till Adam sees a downturn. How do you respond to that?
What value do you drive by actually going and telling the world what works and what doesn't work about another company that you have no access to their numbers? You probably don't understand the business model, but if you're just going to express an opinion about something you might not know a lot about, especially if that person is buying something from you, don't do it.
Adam Newman moved to the United States in 2001, and after a time in the Israeli Navy, he studied business in New York. His business venture before founding
Very
WeWork
Israeli.
was a failed baby clothes company called Crawlers that made pants with knee pads for crawling babies.
He's
Adam
gonna need
Newman
those
is
knee
an
pads
interesting
soon.
character. He has the typical confidence to dare to do anything, the attitude of any Silicon Valley founder, despite being from New York. But Newman wasn't your typical startup founder in many other ways. As interest in the IPO grew, so did the list of reports of not just about WeWork, but about Newman himself. From his use of drugs and alcohol to his tirades in the workplace. It was as if Newman lived in an alternate reality, Ashton Kutcher and Newman were close, even pitching a Shark Tank-style idea to a TV network, but it was never picked up. But perhaps it was Masayoshi Son who gave Newman an untouchable status in the tech world. Some would proclaim that, quote, WeWork is next to Alibaba, end quote, and also telling Newman, you need to think bigger. With the confidence of having such a figure believe in you, who else could tell you otherwise? Newman wanted his staff to work hard and play hard. Adam said that he likes how alcohol brings people together. During executive
Very
retreats,
degenerate.
extravagant cases of $110 bottle tequila were reportedly always within reach. It was said that the drinking at these retreats started in the morning. In 2016, several weeks after Newman fired 7% of his staff, he held a company-wide meeting, but not just any meeting. After telling the staff that the cuts were necessary, he brought out trays of tequila shots and then brought in a famous rapper from the group Run DMC to perform. Newman and some of his staff danced, while others stood around bemused. According to friends and former executives, there was a case of Adam Newman trying to smuggle cannabis into Israel, a country where it's very much illegal. On one trip on his private jet to Israel with some friends, upon landing, the flight crew
Very
found
Jewish.
inside a cereal box. Realizing that they'd been tricked into international drug trafficking, the pilot and crew immediately flew back, leaving Newman stranded in Israel. Adam Newman also liked to smoke before meetings and on private plane trips.
Based.
Like many other founders,
This guy's
he was
pretty
also not a fan
based.
of a suit and tie. He preferred to walk around the office barefoot. Newman would call a personal trainer to visit him in the office for a midday boxing session, then would continue about his day, walking around the office
I
covered in
think he was
sweat.
pretty based.
Speaking of his office, he had a private office with his own meditation room, complete with beads, a whiteboard full of free-flowing ideas, and a large, apparently photoshopped image of him surfing. But if all of that wasn't enough, Newman was also
Very
very
cool.
impulsive. On a video call with his
Go for
executive
pills.
team, he ordered a company-wide ban on meat, leaving the team to scramble together to figure out how to enforce the ban. Yet former employees say that they've since seen Newman eat meat himself. Other
Nice.
times, he proved to be a tyrant, raging through the office. A former employee testified, quote, no one wanted to get in his way. He either got berated or humiliated or asked to do some impossible task, end quote. One time, he called a meeting to demand the manager responsible for buying a new coffee machine without his approval to step forward. A number of his close friends and family hold executive positions within the company. Sometimes, according to an employee, they'll sit in on random meetings and leave without saying a word. There are currently 3 lawsuits against the company, 1 for age discrimination and 2 for sexual harassment. But aside from the parties and non-traditional approaches, it was Newman's financial dealings that had the investors skeptical. He collected rent on properties that he owned himself from WeWork, somewhat of a conflict of interest. He also borrowed hundreds of millions of dollars from WeWork at interest rates below 1%. He purchased a $60 million company jet, despite the company losing $1.6 billion that year. He also sold hundreds of millions of dollars of company shares over the years. It seemed like he didn't have any confidence or care about the company's future. As report after report came out, Newman must have known that he was in damage control. Investors were unanimously slamming WeWork as a bad investment, and reports about Newman's character began filling the headlines. The IPO was put on indefinite pause, and Newman was forced out of the company and had to resign as CEO. That $60 million jet that Newman bought also has to go. Shocking to many, Newman will still walk away from the company he founded with $1.7 billion, while many thousands of the company may lose their jobs. Also, in the end, SoftBank reportedly would have invested $15.4 billion in the WeWork disaster, more than the gross domestic product of Jamaica.
Well,
Well,
I
that's not
still
surprising.
want to invest more and I want to increase. Some of my investors said, Masa, you get too excited and too much concentration into one company. Don't go too far, too much.
Yeah, you retard.
WeWork is in a tough situation. The business model is risky. It hasn't turned a profit. And investors just forced out the company's charismatic yet reckless founder and CEO. The company is fast running out of cash and in dire need of investors. This resulted in a $5 billion investment from SoftBank in October 2019, and now SoftBank has control of the company. For WeWork to restart their efforts towards an IPO may prove to be just as difficult as fixing the damage Newman has caused. It's a very real possibility that WeWork could be heading to bankruptcy court. That would be a catastrophe of epic proportions. In pure dollar terms, the fall of WeWork's valuation is right up there with all-time value destruction champions like Enron, WorldCom, and Lehman Brothers. Not only this, but it could shake the very foundations of the concept of investing in a unicorn company.
These investment banks should have known better. We've seen people fall victims to these charismatic types before. This house of cards was coming down. This is a failure in misunderstanding what the marketplace is.
Find me another example of creating a company that loses 50 cents out of every dollar of revenue, and explain to me how that works.
He needs to think about what's best for the company at this point, and I don't think it includes him.
It hasn't been a good time. Uber, Lyft, Slack, Dropbox, and Beyond Meat are all trading below their IPO prices. Fitbit traded $50 a share after its IPO in 2015, but when it was recently bought by Google, it was only just $7 a share.
Nice.
But what makes the WeWork disaster so interesting is that it never made it to the public markets. It seems that people are no longer willing to buy the hype of IPOs. Of course, the number one casualty of the WeWork disaster has been Masayoshi Son, the chairman of SoftBank.
Fucking moron.
He's lost billions. But not only that, his reputation as an
Burned
expert
billions
investor
of Saudi
may be
money.
damaged. And finally, in all of this, there's one major cloud hanging over WeWork, and it's something outside of their control. The health of the financial markets themselves. To explain it briefly, there's a problem in the repo market. The repo market is basically the mechanism that keeps the whole financial system running on a daily basis. On Tuesday, September 17th, 2019, there was a catastrophic failure of some kind, and to this day, no one in the public can really be sure what it was. But as a result, up to $100 billion a day has been pumped into the system to keep it going.
Yes, sir.
If you look at the balance statements of the New York Fed, mortgage-backed securities made up a significant portion of these funds. It would seem like there's a problem in the real estate sector once again. If this is indeed the case, another real estate downturn would obliterate WeWork in the blink of an eye.
That model has gone bankrupt multiple times before. What happens is you arbitrage the risk of short-term leases with long-term debt. So you go buy a building, you put debt on it. When rates go up and there's an economic slowdown, as in a recession, you go bankrupt. So no, I won't be investing in that. If you invest in that, you should realize that's another money loser right now.
No matter the outcome, it doesn't look good for WeWork as it stands. Time will tell with the WeWork story. So there you have it. That's the story of how a company went from being valued $47 billion and hailed as a startup poster boy to having to cancel an IPO and forcing their erratic CEO
I want
out.
to hear
And
more
it's a
about the
story
repo
that
market.
could cause a shift in how we view IPOs. That's the story of WeWork, so far. Next week, in the next episode of Cold Fusion, we'll be taking a look at the popular app, TikTok. You might not know, but it's now the #1 social media app in the world. And the company behind it is the most valuable private company on the planet. If you want to see all of that and more in the next episode, definitely subscribe so you don't miss it. So thanks for watching, I really appreciate it. Don't forget to check out the Cold Fusion podcast, and also follow me on Instagram and Twitter.
Also owned by China.
This has been Togogo, and you've been watching Cold Fusion, and I'll catch you again soon for the next video. Cheers, guys. Have a good one.
Cold fusion. It's rethinking.
That he saw no evidence of bribery, extortion, quid pro quo, or treasonous actions. We didn't get to ask him about obstruction of justice, because we didn't know that was on the table until today. Like the president's call with President Zelensky, Democrats want the American people to believe. As one Democrat on this committee put it, that hearsay is much better than direct evidence. And I think Mr. Ratcliffe from Texas laid out the direct evidence that we have from your testimony today. Nothing we have heard establishes a claim that the president acted improperly in his dealings with Ukraine, and certainly nothing has been presented to support anything near impeachment. In the meantime, Mr. Chair, we continue to have no answers to the questions that only you know. Starting with, who was the whistleblower who gave birth to this hoax, and what was the nature of his coordination with the Democrats on this committee? Second, what is the full extent of Ukraine's election meddling against the Trump campaign in 2016? And finally, why did Burisma hire Hunter Biden? What did he do for them? And did his position impact any U.S. government actions under the Obama administration? Another hearing in the books and no answers to basic three material, factual questions that we need answers to. Yield back, and thank you, Ambassador, for being here.
Paste.
Thank you. I thank the ranking member for his remarks. Ambassador Sondland, thank you for your testimony today. This is a seminal moment in our investigation, and the evidence you have brought forward is deeply significant and troubling. It's been a long hearing, and I know Americans watching throughout the country may not have had the opportunity to watch all of it. So I'm going to go through a few of the highlights, and I'm not going to try to paraphrase what you said. I'm going to refer to your opening statement. We all understood that if we refused to work with Mr. Giuliani, we would lose an important opportunity to cement relations between the United States and Ukraine. So we followed the president's orders. Mr. Giuliani's requests were a quid pro quo for arranging a White House visit for President Zelensky. Mr. Giuliani demanded that Ukraine make a public statement announcing investigations of the 2016 election, DNC server, and Burisma. Mr. Giuliani was expressing the desires of the President of the United States, and we knew that these investigations were important to the President. Later you testified, I tried diligently to ask why the aid was suspended, but I never received a clear answer. In the absence of any credible explanation for the suspension of aid, I later came to believe that the resumption of security aid would not occur until there was a public statement from Ukraine committing to the investigations of the 2016 election and Burisma, as Mr. Giuliani had demanded. I shared concerns of the potential quid pro quo regarding the security aid with Senator Ron Johnson, and I also shared my concern with the Ukrainians. So much for the Ukrainians didn't know. You can't have a quid pro quo unless the Ukrainians know, and you have testified today, Ambassador, the Ukrainians knew. You further testified.
This guy's such a phony.
Mr. Giuliani emphasized that the president wanted a public statement from President Zelensky committing Ukraine to look into corruption issues. Mr. Giuliani specifically mentioned the 2016 election, including the DNC server and Burisma, as two topics of importance to the president. In reference to the July 10th meeting at the White House, which you attended with Ambassador Bolton and others in the Ukrainian delegation, you said, I recall mentioning the prerequisite of investigations before any White House call or meeting. You further testified, again, Mr. Giuliani's demand that President Zelensky make a public statement about investigations. I knew that the topic of investigations was important to President Trump. You testified later, I know that members of this committee have frequently framed these complicated issues in the form of a simple question. Was there a quid pro quo? As I testified previously, with regard to the requested White House call and White House meeting, the answer is yes. We all understood these prerequisites for the White House call and White House meeting reflected President Trump's desires and requirements. Later, on the subject of security aid, you testified, in the absence of any credible explanation for the hold, I came to the conclusion that the aid, like the White House visit, was jeopardized. In preparation for the September 1 meeting in Warsaw, I asked Secretary Pompeo whether a face-to-face conversation between Trump with Zelensky could help break the logjam. And this is from an email that the State Department refuses to provide to us, but you have provided to us, Ambassador. It reads, should we block time in Warsaw for a short pull-aside for POTUS to meet Zelensky? I would ask Zelensky to look him in the eye as the president and tell him that once Ukraine's new justice folks are in place in mid-September, that Z should be able to move forward publicly with confidence on those issues of importance to POTUS and to the United States. Hopefully, that will break the logjam. And Secretary Pompeo's reply, yes. Not what issues of importance to the POTUS, not what are you talking about, Ambassador Sondland, because Secretary Pompeo was on the July 25th phone call. He knew what issues were important to POTUS, and there were two of them. The investigation into 2016 and the DNC server, and the investigation into the Bidens. By the end of August, you testified, my belief was that if Ukraine did something to demonstrate a serious intention to fight corruption, specifically addressing Burisma and the 2016 server, then the hold on military aid would be lifted. I mentioned to Vice President Pence before the meetings with Ukrainians that I had concerns that the delay in aid had become tied to the issue of investigations. And as you testified, he gave you no response. No, what are you talking about, Ambassador? How could that be, Ambassador? How do we clear this up, Ambassador? He merely nodded his head or took it in. And of course, the record of that 25th call between President Trump and Zelensky was in the Vice President's reading book earlier. Then you testified, my goal at the time was to do what was necessary to get the aid released, to break the logjam. I believe that the public statement we had been discussing for weeks was essential to advancing that goal. Now, my colleagues seem to believe it, and let me add too about this call you had with the president. You have confirmed today, in addition to claiming there was no quid pro quo, the president was adamant that President Zelensky had to, quote, clear things up and do it in public. That's what you have confirmed. That is what you also told Ambassador Taylor. So he would deny there was a quid pro quo, but he was adamant that Zelensky had to, quote, clear things up and do it in public. Now, I've said a lot of things about President Trump over the years. I have very strong feelings about President Trump, which are neither here nor there. But I will say this on the president's behalf.
Neither here nor there.
I do not believe that the president would allow himself to be led by the nose by Rudy Giuliani or Ambassador Sondland or anybody else. I think the president was the one who decided whether a meeting would happen, whether aid would be lifted, not anyone who worked for him. And so, the answer to the question, who was refusing the meeting with Zelensky that you believe should take place, and Ambassador Volker believes should take place, and everybody believes should take place? The only question was when. Who was the one standing in the way of that meeting? Who was the one refusing to take that meeting? There's only one answer to that question, and it's Donald J. Trump, 45th President of the United States.
Yeah.
So who was holding up the military assistance? Was it you, Ambassador Sondland? No, it wasn't. Was it Ambassador Volker? No. Was it Ambassador Taylor? No. Was it Deputy Secretary Kent? No. Was it Secretary of State Pompeo? No. Who had the decision to release the aid? It was one person, Donald J. Trump, President of the United States.
Yes.
Now, my colleagues seem to think unless the president says the magic words, I hereby bribe the Ukrainians, that there's no evidence of bribery or other high crimes or misdemeanors. But let's look to the best evidence of what's in the president's head. What's his intent? What's the reason behind the hold on the meeting and on the aid? Let's look at what the president has to say. Let's look at what's undisputed about what the president has to say. And you know how we know what the president has to say? Not because what you have represented or others have represented, but because we have a record of his conversation. And with who? The one who really matters. With the other president, Zelensky. And this is what he says. He says, Rudy very much knows what's happening. And he is a very capable guy. This is after he says he wants a favor. And he goes into CrowdStrike in 2016. He says, Rudy very much knows what's happening and is a very capable guy. If you could speak to him, that would be great. The former ambassador from the United States, the woman was bad news. And the people she was dealing with in Ukraine were bad news. So I just want to let you know that. The other thing, there's a lot of talk about Biden's son. That Biden stopped the prosecution, and a lot of people want to find out about that. So whatever you can do with the Attorney General, that would be great. Biden went around bragging that he stopped the prosecution. So if you could look into it, it sounds horrible to me. So what's in the president's mind when he has placed this otherwise inexplicable hold on the aid, when he refuses to take the meeting? What's on his mind? Biden. He makes that abundantly clear. I understand, Ambassador, you said you didn't make the connection between Burisma and Biden. I will let the American people judge the credibility of that answer. But there's no mistaking what Donald Trump's interest was. There's no mistaking about what Donald Trump meant when he had that call with you on an unsecure phone as you're sitting there, an outdoor terrace in Ukraine. When the president said investigation, he meant Biden. He made that abundantly clear to the president of Ukraine the day before. The question is not what the president meant. The question is not whether he was responsible for holding up the aid. He was. The question is not whether everybody knew it. Apparently they did. The question is, what are we prepared to do about it? Is there any
What a simp.
accountability?
This guy's such a simp.
Or are we forced to conclude that this is just now the world that we live in, when a president of the United States can withhold vital military aid from an ally at war with the Russians, an ally fighting our fight too, to defend our country against Russian aggression? Are we prepared to say, in the words of Mick Mulvaney, get over it, or get used to it? We're not prepared to say that. We're not prepared to say that. And I appreciate Ambassador Volker, Ambassador Sondland, I appreciate the fact that you have not opined on whether the president should be impeached or not be impeached, or whether the crime of bribery or the impeachable offense of bribery or other high crimes and misdemeanors has been committed. That is for us to decide in consultation with our constituents and our conscience. That is for us to decide. And much as my colleagues have said otherwise, this is not an easy decision for any of us. And much as my colleagues may say otherwise, this is not something we relish. For over a year, I resisted this whole idea of going down the road to impeachment. But it was made necessary, and not by the whistleblower, but by the actions of the president. I'm continually struck how my colleagues would suggest that because the president got caught, we should ignore the fact that he was conditioning official acts in order to get political favors, in order to get an investigation against his rival. Getting caught is no defense, not to a violation of the Constitution or to a violation of his oath of office, and it certainly doesn't give us a reason to ignore our own oath of office. We are adjourned.
What a fag. What a freaking fag.
Alright, so there you have it. Meeting is adjourned for this morning session of the impeachment hearings. We will have an afternoon session where, again, Congress is going to be questioning the motives of the president to witnesses that they're having. So if you haven't yet, you can subscribe to our page. We are going to be sticking with our coverage right here about the impeachment inquiry. So you can stick around.
ਉਹਨੇ ਤਾਂ ਚਿਕੋ ਸਟਰੀ ਚੱਕਣ ਆਉਣਾ ਸੀ ਬਸ
ਉਹਨੇ ਚੀਜ਼ ਚੱਕਣ ਆਉਣਾ ਸੀਗਾ ਉਹ ਚੋਰ ਸੀਗਾ ਤੂੰ ਦੱਸ ਦਿਆ ਕਰ ਮੈਨੂੰ
ਓਕੇ ਠੀਕ ਆ ਓਕੇ
Everything from both sides that we can. Until then, though, I am going to go out to an event that Vice President Mike Pence went out to in Wisconsin, delivering remarks on behalf of himself and the president. We have more on that coming your way here on News Now.
Gave to Ambassador Sondland when Ambassador Sondland asked him what's he want from Ukraine. The president was as clear as he could be. I want nothing. I want no quid pro quo. I want Zelensky to do what he campaigned on. I want him to do what he ran on. As clear as could be, direct evidence from the central figure of this whole inquiry, the president of the United States, stating it as plainly and clearly as he possibly could. Second,
this guy's like a training
I do think it's important to understand there were only 14 days that the Ukrainians knew that the aid was held up. They learned on August 29th from the Politico article, and in that 14-day time frame, from the 29th of August to the 11th of September, there are 3 key interactions with senior government officials and the president of Ukraine, President Zelensky. The most important, in my judgment, was the last one, because that's a bipartisan meeting from people from the legislative branch, from U.S. Senators Murphy and Johnson. If ever there was a time where Zelensky would have brought up the idea that aid was somehow linked to him announcing an investigation, that would have been the time, because Senator Murphy brought it up himself. And still, President Zelensky never said in any way that there was aid, that an investigation were linked together. Those, in my mind, are the key takeaways. Everything else is Ambassador Sondland surmising what someone's thinking, what someone's up to, all the other things that the Democrats try to stir up. But the facts, as we've said several times, have always been on the president's side. They have not changed. We got the transcript where there is no linkage whatsoever. We got the 2 guys on the call, President Trump and President Zelensky, who have said there was no pressure, no pushing, no linkage. We got the fact that the Ukrainians didn't know the aid was frozen. And most importantly, as was pointed out today by so many people, including Representative Stefanik, that the Ukrainians took no announcement, no announcement, call, no announcement to get to New York, no announcement to get to the police. Those are the facts, Representative Stefanik.
As every day goes by, Adam Schiff
ਫਿਰ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਮੇਰੇ ਰੂਮ ਚ ਚੱਕ ਕੇ ਲਿਆਓ ਮਾਂ ਮੈਨੂੰ ਪਤਾ ਨਹੀਂ ਕਿੱਥੇ ਆ
crumbles. They have yet to point to a single shred of evidence of high crimes and misdemeanors of bribery. Today, taking the witness's own testimony, Ambassador Sondland testified that the president said directly to him, there is no quid pro quo. I want nothing. I want nothing. I want President Zelensky to do what he ran on, which is very clearly anti-corruption, but the facts remain the same. Ukraine received the aid. There was no investigation before the meeting. There was no investigation before the aid release. There was no investigation before the call or after the call. So the facts remain the same throughout this process, despite Adam Schiff continuing his political wishful thinking.
Take some questions.
Mr. Jordan, do you think it's just a coincidence that the aid was released after Congress began an investigation, after the White House learned about the whistleblower complaint? It's just a coincidence that happened just days before the White House actually released?
No, it got released because so many senior government officials met with President Zelensky and they determined, hey, this new guy, this new kid in town, he's actually legit. He's a real reformer. That's why it got released. Oh, remember what also happened on the September 5th? The same day the senators are meeting with President Zelensky, you know what happens in their parliament? They start the anti-corruption court. They'd already passed getting rid of sovereign immunity for members of Congress, members of their parliament. So all those things are happening, and they say, and plus, remember, Senator Johnson came back, Senator Murphy came back, Senator Portman, they all talked to the president, and they said, we really want this aid released before September 30th, and the president does. They want to say it's because they're starting some investigation. They've been out to get the president forever. It happened because we all believe that President Zelensky was legitimate. concerned, and I think it was 359 times in the ambassador's deposition where he said, I can't recall, I don't remember, I'm not going to answer it. I do think I'm more concerned about the fact that the most exculpatory piece of evidence was what Representative Stefani just talked about, the statement from the president that he gave directly to Ambassador Sondland, and of course he left that out of his 23-page opening statement. More concerned about those things. That's the White House's call. That's the White House's call. That is the White House. Look, this process has been so unfair. What Adam Schiff has done, just the fact that he told us last night at 10, if we wanted to look at Mr. Sandy's deposition and bring some of that material forward for today's hearing, we found out about that, I believe, last night at 10 o'clock. Our lawyer got notified. How are we supposed to? We would have liked to have Mr. Sandy's deposition available to be able to use in this proceeding day. We couldn't do that. That's just one of the many unfair things that you all know has been unfair throughout this entire process. You all know that. Our witnesses were Hale, Morrison, and Volker. And you saw yesterday with Mr. Morrison and Mr. Volker, the facts there, and that was a good day. Mr. Volker is the special envoy, and he is the definitive narrative on this entire thing. And you saw how good he did yesterday in that hearing. Those were, remember, they're all Adam Schiff's witnesses. He called them all. We just said we'd like all the witnesses you called to come in on our list. We put Morrison, Hale, and Volker on our list. Mr. Hale, you'll hear from here in about an hour.
And you know what witness they will not call? It's Hunter Biden. Every single witness that has been asked that question, do you think there is a potential appearance of a conflict of interest with Hunter Biden sitting on the board of Burisma? Every single witness who has been asked that question had said yes, including Ambassador Sondland. Hunter Biden is on our list, as well as the whistleblower for a closed-door deposition, and Adam Schiff continues to
वो पता नहीं कहाँ थी मनलादा
घर अंदर बढ़ना है चले गए आपको फिर बाहर कर दिया
रिकॉर्ड नहीं कर दी
You know, as we heard from our witnesses, this was an official channel, and the president can choose who he wants when it comes to conducting his foreign policy. But from the witnesses who are here today, when it comes to impeachable offenses, they have yet to point to a shred of evidence when it comes to impeachment.
ਤੁਸੀਂ ਫਿਰ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਨਾਲ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਕਿਹਾ ਹੋਰ ਕੋਈ
ਉਹ ਘਰ ਦੀ ਨਹੀਂ ਚੱਕ ਲਿਆ
Understanding of the investigations were into Burisma, into the 2016 elections, and Ambassador Sondland specifically said that he did not understand that as meeting into Biden. And let's be clear on it. The blood investigation that has been done into Burisma was done under the Obama administration. The Obama administration had concerns with Hunter Biden sitting on the board of Burisma, as we know from Ambassador Sondland when she testified and said that she was prepared with that information before Senate confirmation hearing. So when we talk about investigations, the fact of the matter is, the one investigation into Burisma was done during the Obama administration.
The strongest piece of exculpatory evidence that you've heard that exonerates the president. The strongest piece of evidence.
The president's own
We've
words.
said to Mr. Sondland, we've said it, I think, 3 times here in the last 10 minutes. That's the strongest piece. And the fact that
today. Another busy day lined up there on News Now. We really appreciate you joining us here today worldwide. We're going to show you this shot always for you, but we're also going to be waiting on this to pop up once again. And we will have Vice President Mike Pence from earlier today.
Well, hello, Wisconsin.
Hello, Wisconsin.
Thank you all for that
Sounds
warm
like Bill
welcome.
Clinton.
And join me in thanking our brand new Secretary of Labor, Eugene Scalia. He is fighting for American workers and American jobs every day. Really is great to be with all of you today. And with some great public servants, especially my great friend, a great ally of this administration, Congressman Mike Gallagher, thank you for your leadership and for your service to this country. But to Mayor Steve Genesat, and especially Dario DeStay, Jan Allman, and standing here before the bow of the future USS Marinette, it is great to be here with all the extraordinary men and women who have been the heart of this city since 1944. Let's hear it for the Marinette Marine team. Wow.
So fake.
I got to tell you, I got a chance to walk on that ship a few minutes ago, and the handiwork, the craftsmanship that's already been at sea for generations across America, it's been produced in this shipyard. It's truly extraordinary, and it really is an honor to be with all of you. Also an honor to be here with so many other hardworking Americans, people from across this state, neighbors and friends. Just had a warm welcome as we drove through town.
They're a robot.
The entire school at Garfield Elementary came out on the curb, and I just had to pull over. It was great. I do appreciate the warm welcome. I even got a letter when we had to reschedule this event. I got a letter from a fourth-generation business owner in this community. She looked one look at me and she knew that I like cheese. So join me in thanking Carol Kubal-Kinney of Joe's Cheese House. Carol, I'm counting on you. She sent me a letter and said I'm going to bring you some cheese. So Carol, thank you so much. And congratulations on all your family success for so long. It is great to be here. And it is great to be back in Badger State. It really is. And as I begin, allow me to bring greetings from another friend of mine. And I told him yesterday that I was
Heavy breathing.
Wisconsin. I think he sounded just
A lot of heavy breathing.
So let me bring greetings from a man who loves the state of Wisconsin and is fighting every day to keep the promises that he made to the Badger State. I bring greetings from the 45th President of the United States of America, President Donald Trump. It really is a privilege. It's a privilege for this Midwesterner to be back in the heartland of America, and also to be here. Be here on the President's behalf with a company that's creating so many opportunities for generations now, not only for people in this city, but in Wisconsin, but really all across this region. It's remarkable to think that Fincateri's investment here in Marinette started with just a handful of workers and a contract to build 5 wooden barges for the United States Navy during World War II. It's amazing. But since then, because
This guy raped kids in my laboratories.
of the people of this community, the Marinette Marine has designed
Who we
and
got
built
in here?
more than
We got Stonar in here.
1,500 naval vessels and
No, I
some
can't
of the
sell it at the
finest
gas
ships
station.
at sea in the world.
I'm not allowed to sell it there.
And as a result of your professionalism and the reputation of this great company, you've doubled your workforce in just the last decade, created more than 200 good-paying American jobs this year. And today, Fincateri Marinette Marine has created a total of more than 1,500 good-paying American jobs. And I got a bit of an announcement I learned on the way here. If there's any Wisconsinites or even Michiganders who are out there looking for work, Fincateri is hiring right here in Marinette. That work? This is a growing economy and a growing state and a growing nation. It's remarkable to think that it's only going to continue. Because I'm told that FMM is planning another $100 million investment right here in Marinette. I think that's worth a round of applause.
Forced.
Creating 700 new jobs right here in the heart of the heartland. Wow. And you know, you're not just creating jobs in Marinette, you're also supporting thousands of jobs throughout the supply chain of this company.
Burns the shit out of my finger.
Says your ships
Didn't even feel it.
not only made in Wisconsin, by American workers, but they're made with American steel. 97%. I checked. 97% of all the steel and aluminum that's used here is made in the USA. I got to tell you, that is music to my ears, and I know it'll be music to the ears of the president. We're catching up later today. And you're not just supporting American manufacturing. I'm especially grateful for the role that all of you play in the first priority of our national government. FMM has played a critical role in the national defense of the United States of America for generations. Your handiwork here makes it possible for our Navy to sail the 7 seas and defend this nation, stand with our allies. You've been supporting our men and women in uniform. But you're also doing it here at home. I'm actually told that this shipyard alone employs more than 100 men and women who've served in the uniform of the United States. Would all the veterans who are with us today just raise your hand and give us one more chance to say thank you for your service. Thank you.
Thank you for killing those brown people.
And I gotta think those that served in uniform feel like you're still serving. Because what you do here, what you build here, is all a vital part of our ability to defend this nation. Since that very first contract, one day, on day one, 77 years ago, Pinkatary has worked with our armed forces, I'm told, to make ships like icebreakers, mine countermeasure vessels, ocean tugboats, and as I just walked around, the littoral combat ships, LCS, made right here in Marinette, Wisconsin. You all ought to be proud.
Y'all ought to be proud.
And I was actually told that you even got a little bit of an Indiana connection there. That in fact, I'm told that the littoral ship, USS Indianapolis, was commissioned last month back in the Hoosier State. So thanks for building Indianapolis right here in Marinette. So on behalf of our Commander-in-Chief, thank you for your contributions, not just to this community, to this state, to our growing economy, and of course to your families, but thank you for your contributions to the defense of this nation every day. But I'm also here because we've got a great opportunity before us. For all that's happening across this country, we've made incredible progress. I mean, when you think about the leadership that President Donald Trump has brought across this nation, I think there's only one way you can describe the last 3 years. It's been 3 years of action. It's been 3 years of results. It's been 3 years of promises made and promises kept. But we're just getting started, Marinette. We're going to keep growing strong. And think about it. Think about it. I mean, this president promised to rebuild our military.
Think about it.
Restore the arsenal of democracy. And after years of reckless budget
The
cutbacks,
arsenal of
and I'm
democracy.
sure you felt here in this community, President Donald Trump.
Shameless.
This president has actually already signed twice the largest increases in our national defense since the days of Ronald Reagan, including the largest pay raise for our men and women in uniform in more than 10 years. As the president likes to say, our active duty personnel are now the best equipped, best trained, most technologically advanced fighting force in the history of the world. And we reminded the world of that just a few short weeks ago, didn't we? When the United States Special Forces descended on a compound in North Syria and took out the leader of ISIS without one American casualty. How about that? How about that? And you'll be glad to know earlier this year the president also proposed what will be by far the largest defense budget in American history, $750 billion.
And we got red flag laws now. Yeah.
Still, we would fund an end strength of more than 2 million active and reserve military personnel. The president's budget will also modernize our armored brigade teams, provide resources for 12 battle force ships, 2 large unmanned surface ships, 110 fighter aircraft. The budget also includes the largest shipbuilding budget request for the United States Navy in 20 years. In fact, as we stand here at the only shipyard on the Great Lakes that builds ships for the United States Navy, I'm proud to report to all of you that we are well on our way to the 350 ship Navy that President Trump promised to the American people. And you're going to build a lot of it right here in Marinette. In fact, we're nearly 300 ships and growing right now, thanks to all of you. 35 of those SAS ships. Keep up the great work. Keep delivering. And know that as you put your hands on these ships, you're really crafting the means for America's finest to defend this nation. And I know you'll continue to do it with the care and the concern and the dedication that the people of FNL.
Yeah, alright guys. Gotta get ready for
The
work.
truth is we made great progress in strengthening our national defense over the last 3 years. But the people of Wisconsin deserve
Gulag
to
out.
know